Well, it's Saturday morning. This is the Art of Rock. Welcome. Every Saturday morning we do this, but first and foremost, I want to acknowledge the Tongva people as being the traditional landowners of Los Angeles. That's where I am. Every Saturday, please join us here for the Art of Rock. And we're going to talk about music and dealing with depression and dealing with writer's block and dealing with clock rate conversions and dealing with the internet and dealing with all sorts of things. Endlessly fascinating. I think so anyway. That's it. Go like the Twitch so you can be part of this madness. This is brought to you by Angelspit's Patreon. It's there. $3 a month and you can help me out. A lot of the information on there is free. But if you want to throw me a tip, it can be as small as $3 a month, and that would really help me out. Big thing in my life is Ice Planet 9000 and Auto Dealer are doing a gig here in Los Angeles. There's a Facebook link to the gig. December 11th, a night of ambient electronic, kind of a bit weirder music. The room we're playing in has 5.1 audio, crazy lights and crazy projections, and this is going to be fantastic. I'm involved in something that's happening really cool. It's kickstarting right now. It's a release from Bet Noir. Check that link. They're kind of short horror short stories with short horror soundtracks by me. So this is Bet Noir who's from the Grim Life of Hack and Slash crew. You got to check it out. It's really cool. The Industrial Incisions playlist is alive and kicking. It's there. Whole bunch of bands you need to know about. Please like that. Please follow that. And if you're on that, please pimp it, because we've got to help each other. The only way you're going to get through this is by helping each other. They help you, you help them. We can do this. Non-stop alternative meeting from the bleeding edge. I said that all wrong. I don't really care. MTV TV. I do care about that. They're on Twitch. Just like this channel. There is so much amazingness about this channel. Just go and like them. They've also got a Patreon. It's here because we got to keep them going because they're amazing. And I want to shout out to the Raziel, who's my co-host with the co-most or something. Razi's not joining us this weekend, but please definitely check out You Shriek. That's his band and everything else he does because it's bloody awesome. Welcome to the Art of Rock. Now, I want to talk. Is Aaron around? Aaron's not around. Okay. Aaron, when you show me your pretty face, we're going to work on ask about platforms. But for now, Alex, talk to me about clock conversions.
Yes. So I'm having the problem that I have one device which has one clock and the other device has another. And in order to sync them, they need to have the same amount of pulses per second, per beat, sorry. And my problem was that one was going 4 times the speed of the other, but I figured out that you can change the amount of pulses. But if not, my question would have been, what are the best ways to convert clocks? And maybe are there some ways where you don't need a module, but something that's more portable? Basically that.
Does anybody want to jump in on this? Because this is like I will shoot my mouth off about this, and whether it's amazing or not, gee, I don't know. Does anybody want to talk about?
It's complicated fast.
It does.
And like it turns into it's like the freaking SCSI standard.
It's marriage counseling for synthesizers.
Yeah, yes, and well, SCSI is marriage counseling for data. Bad marriage counseling for data these days. Like there is a standard nobody follows, and really certain clock management with MIDI, there is a standard that is poorly followed by everyone. You know, same set of problems. You know, because I mean, this is an electrical engineering thing in the end.
Ivan, I love you. Answer the question. Go.
There's a ton of like, you know, clock generators, world clocks, and you know, MIDI DIN clock systems. And whether or not they're going to work with the gear that you have, you will find out after you have bought it. And like the good one, like the decent ones, they get expensive so damn fast. Like right now, like all of my clock management, and this is going to make everyone cry, is handled by Ableton over USB MIDI. Because at least it mostly works. Mostly. But when it doesn't, it really doesn't. And that's not even counting the Eurorack stuff, because like you're in a different place once you're there. But I trust the Eurorack's internal clocks. Like once your clocks on the Eurorack are sunk up, you're sunk up. It's going to just be good.
Is it sunk or is it synced?
I don't know which one is appropriate. Synced up, sunk up. And I mean, is it a past tense thing or is it a present perfect tense thing?
I don't know. I'm just going to barge in because now I'm going to talk a whole bunch of shit. So the legendary one to get is the Korg KMS 30, and it's these things used to be worth a whole bunch of money. I'll put it in here. And yes, Ivan goes on Reverb. I'm actually on Reverb. There's one here for like $160, which is really amazing.
That's not bad.
That's really good. They used to be so expensive. I'll put it in the chat because everybody really wants to know this. I love this shit. Actually, I don't. I hate it. So Alex, who's going from what to whom to where to what?
So I did retail therapy and I bought this drum machine.
Is that 16?
16?
What's its trigger? What's it looking for? The clock. What's it looking for?
So it can, I just figured out that you can change it, but it's difficult because it has like a whole bunch of, all the menuing is done with this little screen with like 3 segments. So you need to constantly look at the manual to figure out what you're actually doing. But you can change it, but I tried it and it doesn't clock, and I need to figure out why. And this is the recipient, which is like one of these little pocket operators.
Okay, with the pocket operator, are you, because you can hack those things on the back. I used to fuck around with these things. I spent a whole bunch of time actually sitting it into the modular and then like building a little thing so it would sit on the modular and then having an audio input and also a clock gate input and a whole bunch of fucking around. Keep going because I just railroaded you.
No, it's basically probably just trial and error, and maybe
because a lot of that stuff 16 actually 4 PPQ pulses per second has become sort of the new standard. Like the Volca beats and stuff, I think they're 16. They may even be 16 in a bar. They might even be like quarter notes 4 in a bar. I'm not sure. Excuse me, but the if you're luckily a lot of modern gear will allow you to switch, but the Emaxes are 96, 24, 96, and whoever's between them, is it 48? Which is a tremendous pain in the ass. Same with a lot of the Korg stuff. I know Roland is also that. It's all like fucking DIN sync and all that shit. This device I put in there, there's a few like that where they will go through and do this conversion. The Ulterior beat step does it, but it doesn't convert, it only outputs. Although you can kind of, I guess, no, it does convert. And it's also got an option where it's got a jack on it because it's got this cute little jack that you can jack it to DIN sync. I absolutely love the beat step. I think it's brilliant. And it's also horribly cheap. And it's not just some crappy piece of plastic. It's built really well. Really smart, really well laid out. Everybody's on Reverb.
Oh yeah.
But it's the fun thing about it, You get a look on your face, Ivan, when you're doing something bad. That look right there. And it's yeah. So if you can, try and get everything into the one thing. I advise don't do a DIY project because I've tried several and they end in smoke. Yeah, they don't work. Well, they do work, but it's way above my pay grade. Brett, welcome. Yeah, that's my thoughts on this horror. Is either get everyone talking or I just use MIDI clock. And even that's probably because man, the Emaxes love to God. And then there's this other really fun thing as well, like when you're syncing, just FYI, if you're doing an arpeggiator or something like that, some synths, they would just play when you hit the notes, regardless of where within the 16th, because I'm assuming you're doing 16ths, where within the 16th, it won't snap to the closest 16 or wait till the 16th comes through and then start playing. It plays as soon as you hit the notes. So if you hit it off the beat, like exactly off the beat, it will clock at that point. The Emaxes do that. It's quite common. But a lot of them have got, after massive menu divings, and they don't just say snap to the beat or to the clock. They use some fucking, everyone's got their own term for it. But it's a tremendous pain in the ass. Getting manufacturers to talk to each other. You're basically getting corporations to talk to each other, and they don't want to do that. I didn't answer your question, as usual, because I'm Carl the Dancing Bear who doesn't answer people's questions. I just bedazzle you with my juggling skills, which are terrible. Does anybody else want to jump in on clock and how it frustrates you? And also, if you want to get into clock and all this crap, I would suggest you buy knee pads and a headlamp, because you're going to spend a whole bunch of your time crawling. Yeah, you are. You're going to spend a whole bunch of your time crawling around behind your gear, trying to figure out why the fuck it's not working today. And do you remember how when you turned everything on, you felt like making music? You don't now. Now you feel like throwing a little tantrum. It is just me. Because I thought, oh yeah, electronic music. Yeah, you're doing this stuff. I think the trick is that you've got to have the dedicated day of fixing my shit day. And that's not making music day. It's fixing my shit day, because shit is going to get broken all the fucking time and shit isn't going to work. And God hates you and has abandoned you. And the aliens aren't coming back. Instead, they sent their evil to the planet in the guise of miscommunication between your beloved synthesizers. Rant. Does anybody else want to throw in there about aliens? Brett's driving. How Brett? I just noticed, like, the camera it looks like it's outside the car. Brett, you need to buy a bike and join ZZ Top.
Yeah, I am in my car. It seemed like, man, it's a beautiful day here in Savannah, and I've decided enough of being cooped up behind a computer. I am going fishing.
Holy shit, bro! That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So I am just outside of the local Walmart now, about to buy some bait, and I wanted to be part of the meeting today anyway. So
take your phone in. Oh, I really want this to include updates on Brett's fishing supplies. It's interesting that we were just talking about sync, and you're going to go hook, line, and sink. It's an awful joke, but I appreciate the yeah.
Yeah. I was listening to the clocking issues as well, and literally did my maintenance in the studio yesterday. So, yeah, that leads to the bucket for today.
Yeah, good for you. And please, when you're in there, either jump back in or something, because I would love to get an update on fishing tackle for those of us who don't fish or want to fish, but we don't.
Yeah. I can't say I'm like an expert or nothing. I have a collection of stuff people way better at this than I have given up and given me. And I'm going to go put it to a test.
Okay, let's test it today.
That's what's going to happen.
I love it. Is Aaron back in yet? Aaron's not in. Okay, well, we're just going to run with Aaron's thing. And Brett, let us know when you're actually at the tackle aisle, because this looks good. Hold on, I see Ivan's hand. Ivan, talk to me. What's going on?
Studio cleanup and management days are important.
Okay.
Like you just got one, you have no choice. Two, like a studio is a place that you're physically in using nonstop. Like you're always in there making those little changes. But like those little changes make little messes that just pile up. And like set a schedule and just have a day every once in a while where now's when the like excess cable gets cleaned up. Now's when like freaking like all the MIDI gets put back to normal. Have a normal state for it that is known good. And then reset to that once in a while so that like you kind of know what the hell's going on. Things are less of a surprise. Spent a whole bunch of my younger work career in data centers and machine rooms and wiring closets, and very rarely is good like cable and hardware management done in those places, because usually people don't go into them, so like the problems just pile up. And the result is I've seen some stuff that is hair-raising. You can't treat your studio like that, because you need to actually be able to use it. And it's a bit more sensitive to not being squared away. So get your stuff squared away and like just reset once in a while back to that state. And then also I would say once every 3 or 4 months, check all your hardware for updates and do the updates one day. Just like have an update day where like firmware gets updated on your gear, because unless like you've reached a point with that piece of gear where you're not updating it anymore because you're afraid to move it forward, that will happen. Okay. I'll shut up now.
No, I absolutely agree. And I'm just going to jump in there that my friend, besides the knee pads and the headlamp, is one of those hand vacs. Because like LA, probably a secret people don't know about Los Angeles is that the dust in this town is incredible. Like it's awful. And I'm crawling around, and I do try and do it. Look, you know what? I haven't really done it in a while. I haven't turned on the modular in a while. I'm in the mixing phase, so I'm not. But crawl around with your little vac and get in there, and because Frank is also shedding. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Frank's also shedding, so there's a lot of hair back there. And Frank likes walking behind stuff, and as he goes past the cables, his hair is getting attached to them. But man, it's so true. I have a habit of, that blue painter's tape? Whenever there's a cable or something that doesn't work, if the cable doesn't work, it goes in the NFG, and NFG stands for choir. No fucking good. So it goes in the NFG bag, and then that usually does or doesn't get repaired. But if I've got a jack or something in the studio that doesn't work, I put a piece of blue tape on it. And that's my signal on cleanup day to go through and to fix that thing.
Man.
Yeah. Because I always forget. Because I'm, a very forgetful guy. But it is doing the updates is a great thing. I don't do updates because I'm scared. Because something always fucking dies on me. Yeah, I know. Brett's rolling his eyeballs behind his ZZ Top sunglasses right now. Here he goes.
I
what do you say?
Help you out with that.
Yeah, you do it. I'm grateful. And have you noticed I haven't called you recently? And I sent you a great big package in the mail, by the way. Thank you again with the painting. You said you wanted that.
Hell yeah,
face.
man. Hell yeah.
Thank you so much. But yeah, it's really important to, like for me, broken cables is the thing that gets me. And I have to go through and because I moved like the Moog 1, I sold the Rev 2. and I moved the Mo 1 in, and it was like the amount of work to literally put it there and then patch it in, because the synth is there and the patch bay is there and the desk is there. And it's so much work. And one really good thing about having a clean update is that if you've got gear acquisition syndrome, it sort of eases that as well. And it gives you a chance to go through the studio going, look, man, do I really need this? So yeah. Yeah, opening up computers and blowing them out. Never do updates right before the show. Very good advice there, Adam. Thank you. I actually bought a can of compressed air because my phone keeps it keeps getting janked up. And I thought it was wrecked, but as it turns out, it was just full of crap. So I just give it a blow and give so much stuff a blow. And Frank's being so cute right now. Alex, talk to me. But you got to be careful with compressed air because it comes out cold and that can cause liquid condensation.
Exactly. What I also do is just use a toothpick and scrape out a little hole in the telephone. Okay,
here's another good thing in that in LA, every synth player has got a brush, and it's a 2-inch brush. And it's long. Well, looks like it's a standard thing, and you're getting the dust off thing. Everything is covered in here all the time, partly because, and now it's got cardboard on it because Frank loves walking on everything. But it's got to be covered, and it's got to have a piece of cardboard goes on top of the keyboard, so if Frank's walking across it, it's not as little pores, and also it's got a blanket on it. And another thing I have now is a toothbrush, because the toothbrush can get in there where the thing can't. And it's another thing as well is that I will sit down on cleanup day and get rid of dead cables, because there's so many cables running around that, oh look, it's not actually plugged in. It's bloody amazing. I'll sit down with isopropyl alcohol, like 50% isopropyl, 50% water, and with a damp rag and clean cables, especially if I take them live. Which I'm only starting to do now, which I'm very excited about. So also have a soft paintbrush to dust with. Yes, Adam, thank you very much. Between music, yeah, absolutely. So, and also get yourself the, it's an electronic version of WD-40. It's the stuff that cleans out crackly knobs. And it costs like under $10 a thing. But man, I'm telling you, man, the amount of knobs that I've got in this room that I thought that's where you got to cover everything because dust gets in there, that I thought they were janked. Oh, this thing's wrecked now. No, it's just got dirt in it, and you spray this stuff in it, give it a twist, and it's fine.
Contact cleaner.
What's it called?
Contact cleaner.
Contact cleaner. Yeah, contact cleaner.
Little makeup brush like this, also super handy for
perfect
getting into the detail stuff, and then one of these good old fashioned, Home Depot paintbrush, but the natural bristles, so it's nice and soft.
I think from this, we have compiled the perfect gift set for Brett. Did you already buy the tackle? Dude, okay. God damn it. I wanted to get a live update. I look up here really quick, then I'm going to throw it to Brett. We've compiled the perfect synth behind the scenes stuff, which is a headlamp that you can get for $10, knee pads you can get for $10, and air cleaner, contact cleaner, and brushes. Boom. So if you've got a friend who's into synthesizers, that's what you get them, and maybe get them a floppy disk and a USB, because USBs are always dying. Brett, can I throw to you just so we can get the live fishing update from Brett?
Yeah, so I just picked up a couple things of red worms. I've also got some lures with me. I got me 2 poles, bucket, and a chair.
Thank you. And for those who have just turned in, everything Brett just said was code. You think he's talking about fishing, but we're talking about something else. So you got chairs. Right. Do you have an umbrella?
I got a chair.
Dude, you are the solitary fisher person today.
Yeah, I told you. The fucking is strong with me today.
Dude, the fucking is strong with you, Yoda. I love that. I'm taking that with me. So I gotta
Yeah.
ask, like, when do you listen to music, or do you just sit there and do you just sit there and listen to nature?
I do both actually. A lot of times I really do just want it to be quiet, kind of quiet, you know. It's therapeutic, you know, to get out of the usual noises, sounds
And
of computers,
yeah,
complaints, things like that.
it's really funny to think about how our life, and as we're speaking, they're doing work outside, so I've got jackhammers and stuff. It's really fascinating to think how much hum from the lights, from computer fans, from the traffic, from everything our body has become used to. And when you get rid of that, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of times I'll just hang out in my backyard. I actually live on like just under 2 acres. Most of it's woodland, but so we play with the deer and all that good stuff. Uh, Plenty of birds of prey around me, osprey, uh, red shoulder hawks, red tail hawks, owls at night, all kinds of things that are running around. And I'll sit out back after like hard days, whatnot, and I won't listen to anything. I'll just listen to the sound. But and like I said, you know, it's therapeutic. Just kind of get away from the noise of it all, and do something else. Let your brain cool down.
Wow. Wow, that's fantastic, man. That's really fantastic. That's a different planet to where I live right now, but I have police sniper gunships flying over my apartment every day, and also it's Hollywood, and
Yeah.
I'm between major highways, but I don't know. Whatever. That sounds absolutely lovely, and you're fishing. So I want to get a live update later.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Brett. Welcome back. So does anybody else want to throw in on clock and let's do we want to keep talking about studio maintenance, or Grim? Aaron asked about joining new platforms. Okay, so the question was, is it worth it joining a new platform, because apparently there's yet another cool new flat platform that promises to be more better than all the other ones. And the question is, do I bother joining it? Alex, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm far from a social media expert, but my thoughts are that if it's a new platform, it might be worth just trying for a couple of weeks to see if you can build momentum, because if it's a new platform, there aren't so many people there shouting open the space, and there might be a chance to grow an audience while there isn't so much competition. But on the other hand, I think it's not good to what's it called? To paint yourself too thin, to stretch yourself too thin, and to try to have too many channels at once. Yeah, basically that. Try it out, and if it works, continue, and if not, just drop it. Or maybe figure out a way to repause it smartly. I don't know, have a bot that reports everything.
Which actually brings us to a nice thing about multiple bots that can post everywhere, because it's draining. My thoughts on it is, sure, get some real estate, acquire your name there. So if something does happen with it, which probably won't, it's there. And when, like, for example, is it Maelstrom or something? Maelstrom? I don't know. It fucking doesn't matter, because to me it's a total waste of time. There's quite a few social medias that go, oh, we're gonna be amazing, and they're not. But I'll just get the I'll just acquire the Angelspit name. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's interesting. There's so many of them. Like, so that brings us to our next question of, is there a software or a bot or something that you use or could use? Yeah, Mastodon. Thank you, Diana. Mastodon. Is there a bot that you could use to post to everything? Anyone? Alex?
I tried to use a social media management tool, but it thought I needed to set up some things and change some things with the Instagram account, and I didn't follow through, but it's something I wanted to continue on, but was not as immediate as I thought, and it was kind of frustrating. Maybe I just need to try out another one of these.
That's really awesome. I used to use Hootsuite, and it was I actually subscribed to it, and it was great while it lasted. But I figured out that social medias were detecting that it was Hootsuite, and they were pushing. If I made an actual post, it would yield more than a Hootsuite post, because it would always come up at the bottom posted by Hootsuite. So I've just noticed the engagement on them. Engagement across the board is just crap right now, because that's how it is. Okay. Does anybody else want to jump in on this? Because I help out with a couple of different websites, and it's all projects, and they're all like, what do we, to make one post across all these things. Not only does it take time, but it's like this one's looking for a square format, this one's looking for a that way format, like a portrait. This one's looking for whatever. Total pain in the dick. Alex, talk to me.
So if if anybody is looking for a programming project, I think it would be really cool to have like a desktop computer program where you have like a web browser and an Android emulator and a way to quickly copy paste text into different versions. So you can just switch different apps or websites and just post the same message, the same pictures, the same video without having to navigate them on your phone or something like that, because copy pasting is much more cumbersome on there. So I don't know where I would start, but if anybody's looking for a good project, I think that would be really cool if something like that existed.
Brilliantness. Ivan, what are your thoughts on this?
I think, having a single tool that can talk to all the social media sites at once and gave you the ability to like preview what it's going to look like on each of those, that would be super freaking handy. Also, if you could do things like schedule posts in advance, so like it all goes out at the same time on the same day at the same hour on the same minute, that would just be awesome. Unfortunately, the social media providers are going to do everything they can to make that the biggest pain in the ass possible. They're going to start switching out their APIs and stuff just to kind of F you over. Used to be, because I was an avid, Windows phone user back in the like Nokia Windows Phone days. And one of the things that I really loved about it was, from my freaking home screen, I could see, all the updates for all of my social media stuff at once, including my like email, like if something came in from somebody I cared about, I would just see it, pop up on my home screen. But then, Facebook, didn't like that because it cut into their ad revenue. So, they changed their API and made that, go away. And Twitter did the same thing. And then it was just, everybody followed. And an amazingly useful tool died. But I would think that, being able to just have a tool that just does the posting across multiples, maybe that won't piss them off quite as much because that's not digging into their ad revenue. Theory, that's making ad revenue. So, big social can screw themselves.
Yes. Aaron, welcome back. Talk to me.
So I'm wondering if one solution, I'm just going to wipe out the proclivities or the, I don't know, the anxiety behind it, but I'm just going to say for blanket value, maybe one solution could be picking one day a week that you're going to go live, you know, and maybe it's not a face-to-face live, or maybe it's just showing an image and doing a voiceover and talking, but it could be a means to just let people know, you know, here I am, and for the uninitiated, this is the project I'm doing, and here's how to follow. I know that's sounds like easier said than done, or it's just one more thing to plan, quote unquote, but I would say it's kith and kin to just being able to go to a live event, convention, otherwise, you know, but if you don't always have the means to do that, or you don't always have the financial means to go do something, time, money, effort, travel, etc., you can go live once a week or every other week just to say, hey, I'm doing a thing, and here's how to find, you know, all the content, you know, or point them to your website, point them to the playlist, et cetera, et cetera. That might be a good means, or you could have a pre-built image, you know, to where it's got your social links on there or all the things you want to point them to, but it's on a screen while you do a voiceover.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I just pasted a whole bunch of places that do this. They're going to want money, but you know, when you think about it, it might be worth, you know, buying a license or, you know, subscribing to this, because it is saving you time. So that's a really fun thing to look at. It's not fun at all. It's boring as hell. And like everybody's saying, this sucks and we hate socials. Not just socials, but I think it's fair to say we hate everything. Everything! Aaron, talk to me.
Sorry, I would jump into on that end of where, yeah, it always sucks to think, okay, well, it's just one more thing. It's just one more investment. It's money. But if you were to source if you source comic cons, conventions, whatever, insert event here, I mean, even an artist table on the lowest end can be like 200 bones, you know? So if you kind of pro con your situation and say, you know what, you know, I could pay, you know, $8 a month to do X, Y, and Z to promote my project digitally, maybe that's better than trying to go all in, plan for a convention or plan for a big public community event and try to be shelling out 200 to 300 bones a pop, you know, and then try to gauge your return on investment from there. So yeah, it does suck that you kind of always are playing all the time or paying, but you could be better strategizing where your money is going. So
Okay. Can I just really quickly, Aaron, I see your hand. Give me a sec. So are you finding it, Aaron? Do you find that the impact to humans versus in real life versus virtual, what's the difference there? Have you found, like, is in real life better, or?
it's kind of mixed bag. If I were to put it in a percentage, I mean, I'd say probably 70% of the best interactions I've ever had are all online. It's internet strangers, it's co-creators, it's, you know, it's all these people that want to find, you know, something new to latch on to, something to enjoy, you know, circles and communities, horror comedy, or at least that's where I'm at. But general music interests and all these things aligning, 70% of it is usually online. I usually got a good feel for when I'm doing stuff live at a con, but it's really hard to get your return on investment at a convention. You'd be better off gunning for your local fairs, markets, things that are next to no cost, you know, to where all you got to do is just bring your shit and set your thing up. You know what I mean? Instead of, like I said before, trying to constantly gun for, let me pay buku dollars for a table and hope I get my return on investment. I hope that answers your question. It's like a 70-30 split.
Okay, this is really interesting. Hold on, Alex, I'm so sorry. It's very interesting because once upon a time, you went to the gig then you look them up online. Now you find out about them online and you go to the gig. It's just like online dating. There was a time when it's like, oh, I met somebody on the internet. It's like, oh yeah, you did what? Some of you probably won't remember that, but it was like the craziest thing to do, to meet someone on the internet. No one met someone on the internet. Now you meet everyone on the internet. And very few people, very few couples I know, why are we talking about couples now? I don't know. Very few couples I know have met their couple, their other, in real life. It was always on an app. It was always on internet. It was always on X, Y, Z. Then they meet up in real life. I think it's the same thing with bands. Increasingly, I'm noticing it is the same thing with bands. I had another thing today, but I forgot what that was. Alex, I want you to blow my mind with your amazingness from the brain of Alex.
So at least for me, it's the way that I find out there's a band playing, then I look them up and listen to their songs, and then I go to their gig or not, depending on how much the ticket is and how much I like their music. Yeah, that's basically that for me. And usually I have like my clubs where I look, or my venues where I look, okay, what bands are playing, and then I decide. And I think the social media stuff wouldn't be so mind-numbing if it wasn't expected to do it alone. I think if you were just making the videos with friends, or so, it would be much more tolerable. But unfortunately, when you're not in a band with multiple people, it's maybe harder to get going unless you have really supportive friends or really bored friends. I don't know.
That's interesting. No, I really agree with what you've just said. That's a great observation. And it's part of the, we're always tuning, like tapping the thing about how do you promote, how do you exist, how do you be, in this modern day and age. And I think that this is the interesting thing, just kind of like coming back to what we were talking about, like using Hootsuite or whatever to hit different places. I think that very rarely people leave a website. They don't want you to leave the scrolling face of Instagram or TikTok or whatever. They want you to stay there. So the content you're seeing needs to be in there. And I do remember, it once again, it's real hard doing this these days because the artist has to be everything, everywhere, everyone, drives you crazy. Unfortunately, that's kind of how it is. And the thing is, we've got to figure out how to do this because, man, I remember seeing bands going, I'm done. We think social media is fascism and we're done. We're not participating in Facebook or MySpace or whatever anymore. And Brett's got to, so they leave. They're done. They're gone. Those bands don't exist. They went really, really, really underground, and really, really underground's great, but that makes it hard for new fans and to find you. That's the thing. I'm always reminded of Spinal Tap, where they said, we're becoming more picky about our audience. Well, they used a line in it that was brilliant. God, that movie is brilliant. Spinal Tap's a really excellent movie because, like, please, no Spinal Tap quotes, but if you watch and listen to what they're actually talking about, how they're becoming more exclusive to their audience, just the whole, it's really interesting. Like these guys, obviously the people who wrote this, they've been in bands. And I think below the wonderful humor of Spinal Tap, there's a very important message about how to stay relevant, even though you're very angry and you're very jaded and you're very over this shit. How do you stay relevant? How do you keep that face? Aaron, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, and what I've been finding more and more is, when you start seeking out what's more in your area, you might be more inclined to, be able to find a way to jump in there. So basically, so I'm not talking in circles. A more poignant example is, I didn't know that they had a series of comedy shows in our area, and they call it Don't Tell Comedy. but their basic premise is we want people that are of an interest and people that want to support, you know, upcoming comics and new projects, etc. You could tune this to the side of music. I'm more than positive you can, but the general concept is we're going to lock in X amount of tickets. We're going to book a venue, and the venue is going to be secret until 24 hours prior to that. I'm not saying this is some big fuckery planning thing, something that you, the artist, have to do, quote unquote. But what I'm saying is you could see if there are things like that in your area to where you could lock into a gig with multiple artists. And then you know that the people that are inclined to go to that show are there for that specific reason, you know, and it's kind of a niche thing. But it's a very unique thing in that, you know, we're going to give this location 24 hours prior to, and then it seems like you get a better crowd of people that are more inclined to want to listen to new and unique and up and coming projects, if that makes sense. And again, it's not like a grassroots, holy fuck, I got to plan this thing. It's just speaking to the tune of you don't know what's in your area until you start poking and prodding, and the time that you could be spending, you know, just trying to double and triple down on social media, you might be able to reach out to that promoter that's doing that gig and be like, hey, how do I do a thing? You know, how do I get involved?
That's lovely, and I really appreciate that. There's some wonderful things in there. It's really interesting, like to overcome the exhaustion and to overcome because with exhaustion and frustration comes a jaded attitude. And something I struggle with, and I know a lot of us struggle with, is that jaded, why do I keep doing this? I've given up. Or it's so easy just to give up. And if it's not the actual creation of the music or the mixing of it or the promotion of it or the photo, or all of these things that are involved in creating music, it's so easy. Actually, it's so easy because it's such a fucking hard task. But, you know, this is where having a collective comes in really handy, where if you have a group of bands who help push each other, it can really work in your favor. I want to throw this really quickly to Brett. Oh, is it all right if I just take a break for a minute and throw it to Brett?
Yeah, sure.
Brett, how's the fishing?
Well, I am here now for sure. That is the Ogeechee River. This river kind of goes back behind my house. It actually goes off behind my house in a tributary called the Little Ogeechee. But I've actually been on a kayak on this thing with my wife. It's a lot of fun. About a half mile upstream, you start getting into tributaries where you can find gators. It is a freshwater river. There are brackish water rivers here. That is where I actually saw a whale. It was actually a North Atlantic right whale. Was actually calving in the Moon River, I think it was. But no, it's just a really pretty area. I am just getting set up. I've got 2 rods with me. I got me some red worms, and I'm enjoying the conversation, and I'm getting the right amount of weight on here so that I can actually throw this thing out there. And this one will have a bobber on it so that I can tell when something bites it. The other one, I'm going to put a lure on it. And so that way I have something to just kind of pass the time while I wait something to strike this one.
Okay, this is great. And I'm throwing the challenge out to everybody. If on a Saturday you're a part of this and you want to go somewhere random and report every now and then, I'm all about it. Because dealing with talking about the drudgery of social media and the drudgery of, like, you know, making music, crossing to someone fishing, I kind of really dig that. So thank you. This is great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw this back to Aaron, and we're gonna tune into you again in a moment. Brett, you rock. Aaron, what do you got?
Well, the irony of that is I just noticed that there's a feature. It might just be a TikTok thing, but they have a way that you could plug in your location, you know, because they're like, if you want to get more viewers, let people know where you are. Some people have an aversion to it, some don't. That's neither here nor there. But it's one thing to put in your bio, I'm such and such project based out of gobble gobble geeble gobble, and you put all your fucking horse shit in there, and that might not even be anything that anybody reads. But in the interest of popping a flare, there's ways that you could kind of geopin just to say where you're operating out of, because that might throw you into an algorithm of people in your area that go, oh, that's fucking cool shit. I didn't know that was in my area. You know, I didn't know that comedy venue was there. I didn't know that that artist was there, music project, show, blah, 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 blah. And that's actually one of the biggest questions that I always ever get asked if I'm doing a live thing and doing a convention. Oh, well, that's cool. Where are you based out of? You know, because they're trying to triangulate and they're trying to get something to identify with. And, you know, some people are looking for more things to do, you know, with free time and otherwise. So, I mean, you never know the power of that, you know, if you geopin or tag where you're at, you know, it doesn't have to be your exact obvious home address, but you could say where you operate out of. That might open up to a bigger audience. And in the interest of filming wherever you are, I can't tell you how many times that I tune into a comic that I like a stand-up comic, and they'll be like, hey guys, I'm in St. Louis right now. And somebody will be like, fuck yeah, they're in St. Louis, or the show's in a couple days. That leads to them searching, that leads to them seeing if there's still tickets available, or just generates more excitement if they already have a ticket locked in. But you get what I'm driving at? Like you're filming at a location, whether it be on tour or where you operate out of in your daily life, but you're just like, I'm over here at the thing recording in the wilds, you know, let me tell you about my project.
Yes, thank you. And it comes back to the thing that there's a lot of work in this nowadays. Because, man, I remember where you could say, like, if you do an update, you post it to Facebook. But it's not just Facebook. Now it's Facebook and Instagram and Threads and TikTok and because different people have chosen different channels from which they are going to gather their information. So, man, this is, yeah. I really enjoy this. You know, it's interesting. I have to be really careful of my brain because when you said setting up a gig in some random place and telling people within 24 hours, I just went, no. And that concerns me because to me, that's a red flag to say that the jadedness is getting to me and the exhaustion is getting to me. So, you know, and it's really interesting that as time's gone by, like you talked about that 15 minutes ago, I'm starting to think, you know, this could be very cool. Doing it in LA could be problematic, but look, doing it anywhere is going to be problematic. But one of the most incredible shows I ever saw was in Berlin, where they did it in an abandoned warehouse. Like it was this old broken down theater, and they were projecting Blade Runner, and a person had a stop box and a chopper and this basically a chaos pad that was really, really hacking into the soundtrack. And they were playing violin over it, and they were like kind of like video scratching the movie in real time. And it was like, and to get to this place, you had to walk it through this industrial estate and behind these like trash cans, and it was very exciting. It was really exciting. But at least letting me entertain that concept in my mind is a nice thought. It brings life. It brings rejuvenation to my thought process. Aaron, what are your thoughts on this?
I don't mean to keep hijacking the feed, but yeah, it's just literally, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, I sat in a movie theater to watch freaking Beetlejuice recently, and they did the preliminary, like, your ad could be on our screen, or book your next event for bullshit corporate. But I'd be a liar if I said that it wasn't appealing, you know, to where I was sitting there thinking maybe indie cinemas, or maybe, you know, people got time slots they want to fill. And, you know, why couldn't I book an event to where instead of a listening party, it's a watch party, and they could watch freaking Grim Life on the screen, you know? Or there's a couple minutes splash of an episode right before it. You know what I mean? They hawk all this other shit, sodas and fucking fatty snacks and all this other bullshit. But it doesn't have to be an AMC or a Regal, but it could be Indie Cinema 7 and just be like, hey man, I want to do a thing. Could we do like a Thursday to where I'm promoting XYZ project and come to an agreement with the cinema and whatever else? They may be amenable to that, or the amount of places that are just like open and or for lease. You might be able to talk to that property manager to just be like, hey, for a night I want to do a gig, and you know what I mean, pick your purview, but you could. I think that's got an appeal to where, like I said, I think indie cinemas would be probably better off than not. But or you might be able to find a place to put a projector screen. You might be able to go to a park, or like Zook said, old factory parking garage. Tennessee's got caverns and stuff, so I've still got to even check that out to where there may be an open, non-conventional space, but there may be a way to do that.
Yes, these are fantastic ideas. We kind of touched on this the other day. If you're going to do something like this, and we'll go there again because I've picked up some very interesting pieces of information. There's insurance to think about. There's council. I'm so sorry to be the fuck under the wet bag on this one. There's council approvals. No matter where it is, you've got to get council approvals for it. But there are, like, a lot of indie cinemas and small cinemas do rent out their cinema spaces. It won't be cheap, but they do rent them out. And if you can get people there, then it's a good thing. It's a very good thing. Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody else want to throw in on this or something more exciting? Aaron, go.
I will keep it brief. Maybe the low tech or the no cost or next to no cost version is doing your live stream on X media of choice or Twitch, but you could say, this is my watch party, or this is my new release party. This is the new fucking thing. Keep it short, sweet. People could tune in. It doesn't have to be you on camera 24/7. It's just literally, you could kind of govern the chat, but you could just be like, I've got my camera set up. I've got a projection or a digital overlay. And it's just, hey, this is the watch party for my most recent thing. Enjoy.
And that's great. And thank you. That ties back into the question before, that what is yielding the best, either live, being there in person, or virtual thing. And I remember during the pandemic, virtual gigs for me were becoming more, I was reaching more people. It was more lucrative. It was easier across the board. They were so much easier. This is actually a nice opportunity for me to swing to the side a bit. I don't even know if that's a saying, but I'm going to see if that's a saying. That Ice Planet 9000 is, I recently acquired a mixer, a rack mixer, and because I have my 01V Yamaha, it's not going to fit. I had to carry it separately. It's heavy as hell. I had to patch it in. There was like 20 patch points and it was not working. So I got a mixer, and it fits in the rack and it's great. And I control it with my iPad and it's amazing. And it's really exciting for me how this is. I want to get back into doing live streams. So I might be doing that shortly, leading up to the Ice Planet gig that I'm super excited about. Oh, by the way, hey, I didn't pimp Alex today. I need to pimp Alex. What was I thinking? Okay. Dang it. Alex isn't there. I'm hopefully doing something with Alex soon, from Vulture Culture. Dang it. I got to get his link. I've lost his link. Which I'm very much looking forward to. Does somebody want to take over right now while I can? Brett, how's it going? Brett, you're muted.
Takes a second to find the mic in the sunlight. Can y'all hear me?
Yep,
Can
you're
you hear?
there.
Okay.
How's it going?
It's going all right. I got the second fishing rod going. I am now if I can get this thing to cast, that'd be awesome. Instead of catching twigs, maybe I can catch something a little more alive. And other than that, it's still very pretty out here. I've got one in the water and I got another coming. On this one's the one that I'm doing with the lure. But there is obviously a problem. So,
Which is okay.
Something is tangling it up. So that's part of what you got to figure out.
I love it.
Other than that, all good.
I love it.
Yeah. Let's see. I have decided to try. I've not messed with this lure before. It's kind of hairy. It's kind of cool. I don't know if you can see it. Kind of a little hairy fish thing. Oh, well, there you go. Now you can see it.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
A hairy fish thing.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like a somewhere between like a fly and a just bait. But this is the one that I'm dragging, so I figure if the one with the worm on it decides it wants to start running here, then I can put down this one. But otherwise, I'm playing the ADD thing. Get one that's going that keeps you busy, and another that just sits there and is nice and patient.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll tune in again very shortly.
Very good.
Okay, so I was talking about Vulture Culture. I'll hopefully be doing a thing with Alex soon about the live setup, which if that could happen, that would be amazing. I'd really like to do that. Okay, what else does anybody want to talk about today? Maybe something fun now. We've lost Ivan. Alex, what you got?
So suppose you have a dark ambient thing on your hard drive that you originally did to sample it yourself, but you thought, maybe I could put it on Bandcamp. What would be the things to watch out for and maybe best practices in order to release something on Bandcamp?
Thank you. I think you've also got to release it on streaming media as well. It's important to put it onto Spotify, all that stuff. And when they come through, remember to pitch them. It's super important. You're going to find listeners who may get driven to Bandcamp for sales. Make sure the image is cool. Make sure you've got a little blurb to go with it. Make sure you know your hashtags. When you put something onto Bandcamp, everybody who follows you is going to be notified. And that's why it's a great idea on Bandcamp, on every Bandcamp Friday, to give away a single or something for free. And to specify anybody who takes it for free has to start following you. Their email address goes into Bandcamp. So they become a follower. Then a week after you've done it, send everybody on Bandcamp a message. The day you drop it, dropping it on Bandcamp Friday is a great idea. And you might want to drop a single on a Bandcamp Friday for free so they can just take it. And then a week, a month or something later, you release the whole album. I would be advising that you release every single to streaming separately, putting them 3 weeks to a month apart. So when you drop it on Bandcamp, and it's okay to release everything on Bandcamp and then slowly be releasing it onto streaming. That's okay. There's no more rules. You're allowed to do that. When you release it onto Bandcamp, you tell everyone in the world via your social medias, and you tell them every second day. Having a video to back it up is a really good idea. I really wish I'd listened to my own advice, because I don't. Then You do the same thing when it releases to streaming. But constantly pushing stuff, you've got to do it. You must do it, because bands have always done that. Bands always used to, that you'd build the poster and you'd stick the poster on a pole, and then you'd say, who is insert band name here? Let's say the band is called, I don't know, whatever your band's called. Or you'd stencil it somewhere and you'd run around the town and you'd do this, trying to like put the name of the band there. Then a month later or 2 months later, you'd stick a poster on a pole. Whether anyone's going to go to the poll based on that, who knows? This is what we did in the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s. Now it's illegal, whatever. Then you'd have flyers, and you'd run around and you'd give out flyers or little cards. It's for your gig, for your DJ set, for your band, for your album, whatever, album launch at the pub. Music has always been about this. It's just that now, instead of it being me handing out a flyer that I had to pay for, I had to pay for the design of it. I had to fuck around with all that shit. I had to get them printed and guillotined and cut up 3 months in advance so that everybody in the band could be handing those things out. Now I just make a post on social media, which is free. Flyers weren't free, and it was always funny that after a gig, you'd walk around and you'd see your flyer on the floor everywhere. And plus, it's illegal in a lot of places to give out flyers. If they find your flyer on the pavement, they'll fine you. In Dublin, they fine you €1,000. If your poster is on post no bills, if your poster is on a pole somewhere, LA will fine you $500 for every single pole it's on, I think. Or you could just send it out to Facebook for free, and because of the algorithm, it's already going to be throwing it to your friends to start with. So yeah, bands and DJs and promoters have always done this. Now it's easier and cheaper, and there is just as much noise as there used to be in the 90s, because I distinctly remember putting a poster up on a pole for an Angelspit gig, and then you'd walk back there 3 hours later and someone had stuck something straight over the top of it. So I'm going to argue that shit ain't changed, and I'm just going to say that if anything, it's easier these days. Plus you have an opportunity to do more crazy stuff because it's the internet. So get excited about promoting. Does anybody else want to throw in something fantastic at this point about promotion? Or do we want to talk about something fun like gear acquisition syndrome? Alex?
Maybe a follow-up. If I were to put it on a DIY cassette tape, do I need to consider some things legally? Or...
No! In fact, if it's a DIY cassette tape, I say use every goddamn sample you can find and make it as illegal, and celebrate the fact that the algorithm hasn't figured out how to magically come through our screen yet and do all that shit. Not yet, at least, anyway. Same with like printing a CD. Although CDs can get ripped, although I don't think people fucking bother anymore. I don't know. Like I did a VHS with Video Punks, and that was a celebration of we can do anything. There is no censorship. We can do whatever we want. We can sample and do all this shit. So we kind of did. Whereas YouTube's going to say you can't use that clip, you can't do that, can't do that. Doesn't exist on a VHS or on an audio cassette or on a vinyl. The cassettes are cheaper, although that's questionable, actually. That's very questionable, but whatever. Not many people have cassette players. I don't. And not many people, more people have VHS. A lot of people have CDs and DVDs. I shouldn't say a lot, but they do. And people also have vinyls, but the trick is getting them to buy it because they don't want it. Because you can do a shorter cassette run, but less people have cassettes. You're going to sell more vinyl than you are cassette, but vinyl costs more. Aaron?
I was going to say, just in a fun and unique approach, I mean, you could have stuff to where, and the whole, this ties into the idea of, is this going to get insta flagged? Is this going to get banned? Is this going to get censored? Is this go whatever? You could put things on Google Drive links, Dropbox, whatever, and you could have the direct thing that you want for your audience, for a goodie, for an extra, for a fan, for a friend, whatever, and you could put it on there forever and ever, Or I've got something I really want to share, and people are like, "That's cool, man, but like I don't have TikTok." Okay, well, fuck it. The video that I put on all the social things are on a Drive link. So enjoy, and you could tailor it to, if you just want them to be a viewer, an editor, or if they want to comment, etc. But it's just kind of a cool thing. And if, and there's even a metal band that I follow that they still love doing two things. They'll say, if you promote on Patreon at X tier, we'll give you an e-photo so you can get a digital like goodie to go along with something. Or, you could do the behind the scenes type stuff. But then also they'll actually mail out like a physical photo with a signature on it. So there's ways to do it to where, like we've been kind of dancing around. So the algorithm SWAT team doesn't fucking drop kick your door open and be like, "Hey, you're not allowed to do that." You've just got this niche thing to where you're just like, here's the alternate route, like if you got the treasure map, if you got the digital treasure map, here's how you find all the cool shit.
That's brilliant. That's really brilliant. Thank you. That's interesting because we were talking about basically geocaching a gig. No, maybe not. I was going to suggest having a geocache with an actual geocache in it. But anyway, whatever. Yes. So yeah, there's a lot of fun things to do. I'm endlessly, for me and for others, it's just crazy how there's so much fear. And there's fear of, like you said, fear of the algorithm, fear of getting a strike, a YouTube strike. People don't realize this or people don't care, but if I got a YouTube strike, that would borderline ruin me. I've already got a strike for using public domain footage, and I could not, there was no way for me to contest it. You can't contest it. They said get a lawyer, and it's like public domain, there's no way to prove it. That terrifies me. My point is that there's so much fear. There's fear in me, there's fear in others, and I see people acting and reacting and responding to fear that may or may not exist. And you've got to get in contact kind of responsibly, but you got to get in contact with the inner 15-year-old who just wants to fuck shit up. Sure, you don't want a content strike. You don't want to ruin your internet real estate, because you got to hold on to that. Because, I think if you disappear from these things, you just disappear, and you don't want that. People aren't finding out about things by going there anymore. But I will say that if somebody discovers you in a bar or a club or a gig, the impact you have made on that person and you shake their hand, they will be your fan for life. They will. And the impact and longevity that you've made on that person is far more than people finding out about you online. When you meet someone and you shake their hand, a handshake seals the deal. And it's the same thing at a gig. If you shake their hand and you look them in the eye, even if you're wearing a mask, and you say, "Thank you for coming," you seal the deal. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. And it's always one person at a time. It really is. Aaron, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I would say like genuinely, like I know some people have social anxiety, etc., but like, yeah, barring all that, it harkens back to the idea that we were talking about, that people want to see you succeed. They want to see you do whatever it is, whether it's a one-shot gig at an open mic or whether or not it's a full-blown show. If you show that you are vested and you appreciate it, that might lead to patronage. That might lead not. It might not lead to a bunch of sales, but you never know what that's going to, what that's going to attribute to. That might be them visiting your merch stand or your digital merch stand. But yeah, it's all about like literally like just genuineness and, being able just to talk to people, because behind closed doors, there's plenty of times where you're like, oh, dude, I want everybody to hear this. This project is so fucking cool that I want everybody to know, like, right now, And if you've got the ability to promote that in person, then fuck yeah, game on. Because again, it's just a way, and you never know what kind of impression that you're going to leave on somebody, and you can't always dictate how big your crowd is going to be, right? So it's like recently, it's like I was doing stand-up comedy with Hack the Reaper. It wasn't this giant audience, but I knew that the core group of people that were there enjoyed it, and they actually got something out of it. Like they had a genuine, awesome experience, and it didn't have to be a comedy club of 300 people. I just knew that everybody was there that night, was thoroughly enjoyed it. And got something out of it, got a sense of enrichment out of it. And then a lot of people that saw the video afterwards were like, fuck, I missed out. Or I shouldn't have left at X time. It's like, it's like Hack went up and did that. Cool, man. Like, so again, you never know what you're going to glean from an experience, but if you're genuine and you're appreciative, it goes a long way, for sure.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, so what else is does anybody else have anything else they want to bring up, talk about, celebrate, bash your head against the wall? I'm having internet issues. Oh god damn it, I'm having internet issues. Yeah, does anybody else want to talk about something super exciting or anything? Maybe not. Anyone? Does anybody want to talk gear or anything? Wow, this is so entertaining. Do you want to talk about gear or anything?
I've been spending a lot of quality time with my Ops 6 this week.
Tell me more about that.
It's the Korg FM synth. And, it is really, really fun making patches on that thing.
Tell me more. How many operators does it have?
6.
Cool. So I'm going to assume that it would also understand the DX'd. You can dump stuff from
yes,
DX
you can dump DX patches straight into it.
That's insane.
Yeah, which is super handy because it's a way more modern. Also, like, it's got knobs and sliders for controls, so the UI does not suck, which the DX7's pretty good at having a sucky UI.
As far as to say that the DX7 doesn't have a UI.
Yeah, it was made by people that hate musicians.
Yeah. I'll say it was made by people who hate everything. And I will say the sound of the DX7 has grown on me over the years because Seth gave me his TX7. I fucking love it. And there's some great things you can do with it, but it's impossible. Or I have no interest in it, but that's really good. Yeah, thank you. Aaron, what are you thinking?
I'm going to say at the risk of embarrassment, I mean, most of the music projects that I've done have just been like garage band and shit like that. But if I were to field a question, what would people recommend for like a starter thing? You know what I mean? Like for a digital interface, whether it be good experiences with like, Ableton, or like what's the next logical step if all you've ever done, like I think I've made pretty good strides with the tech that I have, and I've done horror soundtracks and stuff like that, you know, and I don't think they're particularly glaringly bad. I've cross-checked everything on speakers and but if I were to say, if you're going to make a transition from just nuts and bolts schoolyard bullshit that came with your laptop over to something that is way more step up a league, if you will, what would be a good thing to step into?
That's a really excellent question. Alex, what do you think?
So in terms of software, I don't think there's a bad choice, but there's different DAWs are differently suited to different styles of music or workflows. If you're really good with GarageBand, you could try out Logic. Yeah, also Ableton Live is nice for electronic music, but you can also make any other way. I really like Cubase, but it's more like a tape machine in a way. At least it feels like that for me. But also great to compose in. And it's really close to Logic as well. So it really depends on what you want to do. And maybe the best way is to just get demo versions and check them out. I don't think there's a Logic demo version, but yeah, I think they're all good.
Excellent.
There is a lot to be said for, especially on the DAW thing. Like, start out with a bunch of demos, like, you know, to like freely get your feet wet on as many of them as you can. Find the one whose workflow works for you, and then make the the personal time investment to really learn what's going on in that DAW, because any DAW is good as long as you're willing to learn how to use it. If you start using a DAW and don't bother to learn to use it, you know, in a year you're gonna be like, well, this DAW is a failure. I need to switch DAWs now. Learn it first.
Yeah, totally agreed. I would also be suggesting Fruity Loops because it's very simple. But my God, people can get some amazing stuff out of that software, or FL Studio, it's called now.
Yeah.
I think if you want to go to Ableton or you want to go to Cubase or Logic, maybe that's the next step. I think that like you said, Ivan, it's really important that you understand that in the craft of music, it's not just which note follows which note with chords and lyrics. It's also a huge amount of technology and discipline, and music's always been like that. Like if you're going to play the piano, there's parts of the actual mechanism and mechanics of a piano that you need to understand. It's not just which finger do I put on the fret, it's the physics of the bow on the string. There's all of this stuff, and it's the same thing with you know, doing electronic stuff. You've got to learn, and that for me is part of the joy of it. It's part of the tinkerage. Alex, what do you think?
Just about Fruity Loops, from my point of view, it's too customizable for myself because you can do many crazy things, but I don't. They don't necessarily suit me, but might as well other people. What I wanted to say is, it's really good to start to get something going in a quick amount of time. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Basically, you might vibe with it or not, but it's very customizable. You can sidechain the BPM to the kick drum, but yeah. Sorry, I was waffling. I thought I had a point, but
Reaper is free and, you know, quite powerful. So, you know, again, you use there's no wrong DAW choice.
Awesome. Aaron, what are you thinking?
No, all that's definitely helpful. I appreciate it. It's one of those things where it's always been kind of nebulous because, you know, every few years I'll get in the pocket of being like, I'm going to get some like effects pedals and a microphone. I'm going to try some crazy shit, you know? And then that kind of goes into storage. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to get a keyboard and this is going to be fucking amazing. And then I'm trying to figure out how the keyboard plugs into the, you know, into the DAW. And then I've got another mess on my hands. You know what I mean? So it got to a point where I was just like, okay, well, this is baked into the computer. I can make use of it. And yeah, it's not so much the instruments, it's how you use it, you know, and so on and so forth. But I was just trying to think of, you know, a next logical kind of step up, you know, especially if you're in between PCs or if your laptop starts running at the speed of smell and it becomes compromised, you get to a point where you're like, well, I don't want to wait so long for this fucking thing to boot up. Maybe I can lean into something else on a desktop computer, you know, and try to navigate that. But no, I think I may try out like Reaper or FL Studio. The irony that there's a program named Reaper and I am a Reaper for hire and I don't know about it is neither here nor there. But no, like I said, I'm just trying to think of a way to make a segue into it so where it's not always death by laptop, you know, and as cool as, you know, the baked in program is, it is kind of limiting because you get to a point where you're just like, they only have so many presets, at least on GarageBand. So what else are you going to do with this unless you're trying to incorporate sound effects or, you know, just little extras instead of being able to venture into something that's way more dynamic.
And go listen to some throbbing gristle. You know, it will take away any fear you have of I can't do this.
And they did their best stuff on GarageBand.
But I think they did their best stuff with tape loops.
Yeah, I've got that plugged in GarageBand.
Yes.
That joke didn't land, but it's okay. Aaron, sorry, Alex, what are you thinking?
I wanted to ask Aaron what kind of music or what kind of recording he wanted to do, because that's also really important to decide. And yeah, or what hardware.
No, it's definitely it's horror themed soundtracks, you know, which, you know, I always thought were super basic, you know what I mean? Because almost every other horror thing that comes to mind, you think it's really basic, but I mean, a lot of this got reinvigorated lately. I mean, I'm always working on Wicked stories. I'm always penning them so they're horror ambient soundtracks. But I really wanted to play with like the dynamic range of them, you know, and just kind of see what I can do. So yeah, to answer your question, it'd be horror ambient, but you know, I had to check myself the other day where I was like, you know, a bunch of these horror soundtracks, they're not just basic. There is a basic tonality that works. There is a simple structure that's creepy, but oh my fuck, can they be complex and amazing? I mean, Charlie Clouser and the soundtrack of Saw, like that's some of the like the baddest shit I've heard in a long time that kind of fits into the pocket of my genre. That's not, you know, super simple. It's not, you know, it's very people overuse the word, but it's very eclectic, you know, so kind of leaning into stuff like that.
Do you want to record real life instruments or your voice with it as well, or is it just for the soundtracks?
I think it's going to be primarily digital soundscape. If I were to percentage it, it'd be like an 80%, you know, drive on the instrumentals, but then the 20% is going to be, you know, the vocals. It's going to be, you know, creepy vocals and spoken word, you know, character. It could be Bête Noire or you know, and I think I've got a pretty decent handle on audio, like mastering and levels and so on and so forth, like that fit into my degree path. I'm not trying to be like elitist. It's just I recognize that as a strength and I have a strength in editing. But what was always nebulous to me was how to do more composition with more instruments on a program that is a considerable step up from just poking around at GarageBand.
Awesome. You're also going to want something that's got good reverb. Because you've got crap reverb and then you've got okay reverb, then you've got good reverb. And the thing about, I don't know what GarageBand's, and you're going to want to make sure that the software can import good reverb. Because there's some reverb is, okay, that's fine, it's reverb. but other reverb makes it sound like you are in the depths of hell. And if you can get like some of the Eventide stuff, and you might even want to consider buying a reverb plugin, because I personally think it's damn worth it. Yeah, I think that writing horror music is really hard. Like, to write stuff that's really psychologically guiding someone, that's a challenge. Alex, what do you think about it?
I just wanted to say, if you also need a microphone and audio interface in case you don't already have one, there are also bundles where you get like a DAW, the beginner version of a DAW, headphones, audio interface, and a microphone. And I think they are like cheaper than if you were to buy them separately. And I think their quality is decent enough.
Damn it. Excellent advice. Thank you very much. Aaron.
Yeah, it's ironic because it's like there's a lot of range, in horror stuff, and pick your poison. But I think, yeah, a lot of stuff gets really gimmicky or it gets overused. So I do agree with Zug's sentiment that like writing horror music that has staying power can be tough. If I were to beat the dead horse, I mean, if you listen to the main Saw theme, it's called Hello Zep. There's so much that sounds like, part of it sounds like a wind-up box. Then it sounds more like chimes and bells. They incorporate violins. And I think what brings out the awesomeness of that piece is they play with the tonality to where there are bittersweet parts that bring you out of just the dredge, and all the like the undertone. It's not always just in your face pulse pounding music, but there's just so much there's so many layers to it, and there's even deep bass layers and hits that feel like it's like a drum and bass or borderline dubstep music, because it's got those warps and those shreds and that's those subtonalities in it. So it's definitely got a pretty wide range, and obviously it's not anything that happens overnight, but yeah, I think there's a lot of range to play with there, especially if you kind of give people a little bit of that bittersweet, like there might be hope or there might be the light at the end of the tunnel, then you just snatch them back down into the dark side of it. There's just so much cool stuff that you can do. But again, I've just been kind of limited to like the garage band, just because every other thing has been really nebulous, to where I was like, I don't know how to plug that into that, and add distortion and, so on and so forth. And I'm pretty sure there's the YouTube for Dummies and there's Blipverts from Carl. I just got to get re-engaged in that and try to get it going. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to field the question, and I think y'all answered it pretty well in that there's other things. And especially, yeah, my bigger version to it was, I don't want to drop 200 bones on a music program, and then you get burnt out within like a week, and then you go, well, this was a terrible investment. But to Ivan's point, there's probably more demos out there that I'm not aware of, to where you could try out all the bells and whistles, before you fully commit to it.
Excellent advice. Alex, go.
Yeah, if you want to compose for horror, I think you might also consider getting one or two software sampling instruments. You have to be on the lookout that you don't spend too much, because that's a trap one falls into easily. One really good one, but also really, really expensive one, is Omnisphere. But I think there are also cheaper ones, but I don't know them because I'm not really a user of this big sampling flagships. But there are many, and I think if you do a little bit of research, maybe you find something. And there are also orchestral ones with just weird noises and such things.
Yeah. Because that's an interesting thing about horror, is that conventional chords are limited to the emotional response that they can give, because their conventional chords and their conventional notes, and your brain's kind of wired to it. No matter how 12-tone or whatever, your brain's still wired. The wonderful thing about creepy is the idea that you don't know if it's a threat or it's a potential threat. So your brain puts it into this special category of creepy. Is it a threat? I don't know. And you can use that musically as well when you are creating sounds that are alien, foreign, and you're not sure if they're threatening. So your brain sees those sounds and that music as creepy, which is it's wonderful when you start building instruments or you start recording things that are non-musical, or you build instruments, and you bow instruments. Getting a bow, you might want to get a good microphone and a bow. Spend $50 on a bow and start bowing stuff, because you start creating sounds with harmonics in it that regular synthesizer isn't going to make, or there's a lot of chance and randomness in it, and you are creating something weird, freaky, and creepy. Aaron, what are your thoughts?
Oh no, definitely. Yeah, I'm game. It's pretty wild to think about, because what I've been like infatuated with lately is people using instruments and methods other than intended. So they've got two strings on what should be a guitar, but then they've got the pickups in the right places. They found a way to drum the strings, or even to add like bottle sliders like people would use in blues or in jazz, to slide the bottle across the strings to create that different sound. But I'm wondering, to tweak that into horror might be something, completely different. Like the horror instruments, the DIY of old would be, oh yeah, it's a water phone with all these metal spikes and I run the bow on it,
Okay.
But you could play with that more. I think there's more there.
All right, really quickly, an idea: get a beer bottle, and put some water in it. However much water, it doesn't matter, and blow it onto it. Don't tune it specifically to a note, and then slowly move it around. So as the water moves, it's slightly changing the pitch in the bottle, but it's definitely changing the timbre. And just blowing it a pulse, and you're going to have something really fucking creepy.
Are you suggesting that people should play Zoog?
Yes.
People should have fun with this shit?
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is that I think that acoustic sounds are often equally, actually more effective than computerized sounds. No, I don't, yeah. But you know what I mean.
No, there's merit in that, because you'll spend 3 hours trying to fuck around with flangers and add-ons and all this stuff to try to get the thing that you literally might have if you put water in a pot and then you hit that, and and it delivers.
The thing about the blaster beam is it's instantly creepy, and it's such a great instrument because not only is it 5.1, so it's fully surround sound. There's like 6 pickups on it, but it's aluminium, which is very jangy, and they're piano wires, so they're hard, so they're jangy. So it's generating something with a lot of harmonics in it. And if you bow that thing, if you put not much resin on the bow and it scrapes, it's creepy. If you put a lot of resin on the bow so the bow grabs it and it produces a tone, it's creepy. Obviously you can do it in such a way that it's beautiful and atmospheric, which, that's what I do for Ice Planet 9000, or I bash it with a hammer and distort it, which is what I do for Angelspit. But building this was a wonderful investment into sound exploration, because there's so much you can do. And I've built stuff out of salad bowls with a spike in it that I got from Home Depot for $5. These things are cheap and they're fun. Alex, what are you thinking?
So this might be a bit out of your budget, but there's a company called Leaf Audio which makes a thing called microphonic soundbox, which is like different physical things connected to a really strong amplifier, and it also makes you create these creepy sounds where you have like metal rods that you can poke and sandpaper you can scratch, and it's really effective in that way. But it's $300, so not cheap.
So yeah, these are great fun. Here, I'll put the link down there. Get inspired by that, because to me that looks like a cigarette box. You might say, you know what, I'm going to go build an instrument, and then you spend the weekend going to weird shops and thrift shops, etc., looking for everything that goes scrape boing boing, and you buy yourself a cigarette box, which you can find in places for like $5-10. It's got to be made of wood, and then you screw and nail. Screwing may be better. Bits of springs, bits of all sorts of doodad little tweaky things, and then you put two meso-piezo transducer mics, piezo mics, even 4 if you want surround, one corner, and on the diagonally opposite corner, pan them hard left and hard right. And actually, a trick with those mics is you get a very super thin piece of like foam, EVA, like craft foam, and you sit the mic between that and the piece of wood, because it might be generating too much sound. The other thing to remember is that piezo mics have an awful pickup. They sound like crap. You might want to. I have a feeling that the good thing about these Leaf is that the actual pickup inside them is better than typical crappy piezo mics. Piezo mics only go down to about 500 cycles, so it's not getting those big thumpy bass tones. Whereas if you tap this thing, it's going to be creating a big bass tone. It might be a great idea to drill a hole in it, have a sound hole, stick a mic there. So the mics pan dead center, and the piezos are hard left and right. So you can be creating this big, luscious, wide sound. Muck around. That is my advice, is to play around. It's so much fun. Aaron, what do you think?
No, I second that. There's an artist down in Louisiana that just goes by that junk guy. And the dude dresses up like he's in the apocalypse. He's got all this metal shit hanging on him. He's got metal chains and grates. He's got everything where it's in tap distance. And he even has a cordless power drill with a plastic chain on it, so it can spin and do the rapid like tat 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 tat. And he's got boom clacker gloves like they use in haunted houses. And he smacks his thighs, he rattles on his chest, he does all of these things that are tactile and like within arm's reach, like the Blue Man Group or crazy percussion. He's just got a bunch of fucking junk on him, you know, but he's going out and he's fucking killing it. It's really a sight to see. So it's really cool. Yeah, it's cool to think about the DIY aspect of everything and pull some stuff together.
So thank you. So here's something fun. On Reverb, I'm only there because Ivan forced me to go there. There's a DIY ukulele kit where you can build your own ukulele. And the really cool thing about that, if you type in DIY, a whole bunch of interesting stuff comes up. The cool thing about that is you're already getting a soundboard, a guitar-shaped soundboard. So you can stick stuff on top of that. There's a fret thing there. It's even got tuning keys. And who says you have to build a ukulele? In fact, if you get yourself a secondhand guitar, a crappy secondhand guitar from a music shop, and nail stuff onto it, and only have one string on it, which you bow, you're getting the beginnings of horror instruments. You know, if you're putting like things under the strings that when you twist them, they're making the strings stretch and change the pitch. you're already getting into territory of some really fun things. So yeah, I'm all about this. I think it's great. Tune the keys, the strings, so they're not in traditional thing. They're not in traditional tunings, and you might come up with a rhythm or a melody on those strings that is really cool, and you don't know what the hell it is because it's not playing traditional pitched notes. It's playing something else, and that, kids, is creepy. And if you want to make it ultimate creepy, yeah, sure, tune the lowest string to an E or a D or something, so that there is a drone. But then there's all of this other creepy fucking shit going on. That is, it's good fun. It's really good fun. Sometimes I think Ice Planet 9000. Oh no, Ice Planet 9000 is more positive. Like the music is more positive and uplifting, and it's not creepy. Angelspit stuff's more creepy. I need to get into more creepy shit. Aaron, what are you thinking?
Yeah, 100%. I think, yeah, it's. I want to play more, with range of stuff. I mean, I'd have to link it sometime, but one of the grim things I'm most proud of actually plays with that dynamic of, like you said, if you do a lower tonality, that could be your lower register, like really creepy impending doom, like almost out of the range of your hearing, but that's your constant like doom 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 doom. And I did a track called Bathory's Curse, but it starts out with that drum. It starts out with that constant like feeling of impending doom, but then there's more of a wispy higher notes that draw you in. And then eventually it all rolls into a wash and it leads to a woman singing. Really creepy though. It's not intelligible words that you can pick out, but it's just her humming. And it's like, and when you start adding more reverb or a little bit of distortion, that humming or that nursery rhyme or that just one-off thing isn't really creepy until you start maybe distorting it a little bit or stretching it out. So no, I'm really stoked on the aspect of just being able to just get little bits and bobs and throw stuff together, plus pickups, plus distorted ukulele guitar kit, etc., and see what comes out the other end of that.
Awesome. Another thing I'm seeing are kalimbas, and they're quite cheap. Like there's some in there that are like, $30, $20. And they're great because they're not usually pitched. They're just random pieces of metal making random notes. And that sort of thing, when you start playing chords 2 or 3 at once and you distort it, you're going to create harmonics that are lovely and creepy, because your brain's going, what the fuck is this? So it's all good fun.
Times, like, people junk the old kids piano because it's discordant or it's janky to them. But if you can find that fucking cursed little toy that has those, those really like soul wrenching notes and stuff, it's like, that's a find. That's a find and a half, to be able to do that. And like we've been talking about in the past, it's like, it's all well and good to just do all this digital shit, but sometimes the more tactile, hands-on approach is the coolest route that you could do, and possibly the most time efficient. Instead of, again, spending 3 hours trying to tweak and twist and turn and edit, you could build that instrument that you want, or you could utilize that. It's like, when I was in theater, we didn't use the sound of, oh, here comes the breaking dishes or glass effect. That sucks. Like, everybody's going to tell that's baked in, that's in-house. But if you build a crash box, which is a fuckload of glass and duct tape around it, and you slam that on the ground, the efficacy of that is fucking amazing. Because then all you're working with is, oh, let's just make sure the stage mics pick it up. But that real sound of practical glass breaking without obviously the hazard of the shards and bits going everywhere, you could build a crash box, and the fresher the box, the better. Because that first time you hear that, that's really going to make an audience jump. Instead of, oh, here comes the sound cue, that may or may not be missed. But if you have a practical thing, practical is a hell of a good time.
Yes, absolutely agreed. Also, that Leaf Audio that Alex kindly told us about, they do workshops. They haven't done one in a while, but check them out. Everybody sits around and builds some weird freaking box. But yeah, once again, it comes down to the idea that because you're using an acoustic thing, you're taming chaos a little bit. And that's exciting. That's the sort of spiel that I really want to get to in great detail. Again, we should revisit that. I think we should draw today to a humble close. And I thank you guys for being part of this. This was really excellent fun. This is The Art of Rock. Every Thursday, hell, we're here making rock things happen because it's rockalicious. And so please keep joining us. This is brought to you by Angelspit's Patreon. For $3 a month, you can jump on. So much of the content I do is free because I think it's important that everybody gets access and everybody gets some kind of encouragement or something. But if you want to throw me a tip, it's right there. The Ice Planet 9000 gig that I am super excited about is there. It's December 11th here in Los Angeles. I'm doing it with Auto Dealer. I'm super excited. Please join us if you're in LA. It's going to be great. Benoit's got some new music kickstarting that we did the horror music for, and it's bloody awesome. So I want you to look into that. I'm actually really proud of that, Aaron. We did a good job. The Industrial Incisions playlist is a fantastic playlist that's got a whole bunch of stuff. I want you to listen to it because it's dope. Also, Wednesday nights, Vulture Culture does his YouTube stream. It's a deep dive on synthesizers, and it's bloody epic. Can I do that on here? Hold on, I'm seeing fuck the internet. It's great. It's a really, really good deep dive on synthesis, and it's so much fun. I forgot to mention Angelspit's doing this crazy deal, and I don't know how long we're going to do it for because we're running out of stock. It's called the Pound of Merch, a Pound of Flesh, and for $25, I stick a T-shirt and as much merch as I possibly can into a container for you. That's shipping to the US only. Thank you so much for the response on that. It's been massive. Also, a big shout out to Razi, who's normally co-host, and Diana, thank you for picking it up. You're the best. Razi's co-host usually, and Razi's amazing. He'll be joining us again next week. We are going to raid to MTV TV now because it's the best. So Diana, if you could set that raid off now, it's the best bloody music there is because it's awesome. There's a whole bunch of new stuff on there. You're going to find your new favorite band on there. If you've got a track and you want them to play it, they will play it. Just email them. Get involved because it's great. It's the best form of free publicity there is. So Diana, if you could do the raid, it would be booyah dope. I don't know if people say booyah dope anymore, but I just did, so deal with it. And we're just going to hang back here and chat. And that's going to be great. And thank you. And Rob, it's good to see you in the chat. And Adam, as always, and so many people who I should have shouted out to, but I didn't because I was too engrossed. Let me know when it's streamed. And we're going to rated, when it's rated. Are we rating, Diana? Can someone let me know if we're rating? Yeah. No one's saying anything. You got to tell me. You got to tell me in English, not with smiles.
Rating is in progress, and I think it's already done.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you for joining us, and we shall see y'alls